It's the Center Fantasy Football League podcast.
Welcome to football.
Oh, I'm a football player.
Coach, I'd like to tackle him right now. Not yet.
Reviewing all of the league's scores and highlights.
These boys may have lost, but they in no way disgraced themselves. They disgraced me.
I think I made him shit himself.
And previewing the upcoming matchups and scenarios.
Red 7.
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route.
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Fuck you. Fuck you, little walk-on fuck.
Do you think it's possible that your mom won't love you anymore if she sees how bad you're losing in the game? That's why your guys are out partying, mine are running routes.
And now, here's your host,
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
David Harbadke.
Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast, episode 4 for season 12. I'm your host, David Harbadke, joined by the suddenly happy non-emo, the anti-emo coach of the Hackettstown Hagglers, Mr. Gay Zalutsky.
I'm the same mood every week.
Oh yeah, totally. I am not. I'm more in the emo mood as I'm visiting my team here in the infirmary. How fortunes can change in a week. So yeah. Let's. Well, how was your week?
I mean, it was okay. It was a very tight game up until Monday night.
At least mine was over rather quickly. I happened to be visiting Jaffe Stein in DC, so yeah, I knew pretty early on that things were not going well, and I mean, really, the Jets game is what destroyed it, but whatever. Anyway, so I was able to go on with my weekend, and yeah, and then just kept getting it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and then here I am. So, as I said, visiting my team in the hospital. In the meantime, let's take a look at all of these games as yeah, as an exciting. There were actually some exciting games this week, but yeah. Okay. Where shall we start?
Well,
Friedman, I'm actually quite happy that the commissioner decided to not join us again, given that, yeah, he defeated me. So I appreciate the, you know, that he's not here. But anyway. Shall we start there? We could start on that game. Let's just get this over with. So yeah, it happens to be the biggest blowout of the week. I love when that happens to me. Yeah, so the Hackettstown's Finest defeats the 1603ers 114.90 to 87.58. I mean, look, Mayfield was doing really well. Godwin was he was fine. So between the two of them, I had some confidence going on one screen, but then I had two other games going on, and Bijan was just not doing too well. You had Algier almost getting as many touches. It was kind of frustrating. And then the real problem was, and where I saw things going horrifically wrong, was in the Jets game. That Denver defense is for real. I mean, I know you picked them up in fantasy. I don't know how good their fantasy numbers are. We can go into that later, but I can tell you, as far as in reality, trying to play against that defense, I would avoid doing that if possible. Because yeah, they just shut down. I mean, you saw what they did to Tampa Bay 2 weeks ago. At least I did. I felt that. And then this week I saw what they did to the Jets. So they just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're just blitzing, but I guess they're blitzing from different positions. You're the coordinator guy. Like, what? Why are they so effective?
like I said, they bring heat from everywhere. I mean, they're first of all, Patrick Surtain, your number one receiver, is out of the game, so he just shuts them down, and everybody else, they just swarm the quarterback. I mean, I think they have 12 to 14 sacks in the last 2 weeks. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, shouldn't a quarterback be able to get it all? I mean, I guess, like, I saw that that first sack of Aaron Rodgers, like on the first play, and it was just like he had no time. The guy just beelined it right towards it. Like there was no time. I mean, you would think you would game plan for that, but I guess not. I mean, I don't know. Well, whatever. It was just a horrific mess. I mean, Baker did really well, 347 yards passing, two passing TDs, a rushing TD. Godwin didn't get any of that, but still got 12.9 points. So yeah, and then really the you had Gaiseki get .1, which was horrific. And you had Rashee Rice go down. I mean, that was really the kick in the proverbial scrotal sack right there, getting 0 points.
He
Um,
went first quarter too. Ugh.
no, I mean it was just yeah. I mean it was. I mean I had already stopped watching because of the Jets and whatever. I was trying to hang out with Scott, but yeah, it was to see that he's out and he's out maybe for the season. I mean, there's some hope that maybe I don't know because they're going over the MRI and they said there's too much swelling to make it full determination, so it might not be season ending, but it looks pretty bad. Anyway, so you have that, and then the combination of that and him getting nothing. I mean, it was just ugh. And 3.8 for Brees Hall. I mean, Shakir is now hurt also with with sore ankle. I mean, it's just an altogether mess that's going on. But for Friedman, he rebounds from the previous week. CJ Stroud almost kept pace with Baker. You had Harrison outplaying Godwin. Shaheed coming off the donut the week before. He did have a fumble this week, but he gets 15.7, only 5.9 from A Chain. That Miami team is just I cannot believe the impact that losing Tua has had on that team. I thought that you could, but apparently you can't replace him. I didn't even. I mean, he doesn't even have a strong arm. What is so good about Tua that he's just irreplaceable?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but Tyreek Hill had to go.
Well, oh yes. Well, we definitely have to talk about all the transactions and all the other stuff that are going on. But yeah, I just I don't know. Anyway, Jacobs gets 11.8, 11.9 from Turd Ferguson, 9.30 from Laporta, who has been underperforming all season long, but that's one of his better performances, and I guess for a tight end, as he went with the jumbo package. And then 7 for the kicker and 10 for the Tennessee defense. Not much really left on the benches. Well, I mean, Justin Fields had 33 points, but I mean, he already had so many points from his quarterback that he played. Otherwise, not really much in terms of bench blunders. I mean, a couple points here or there. I mean, obviously, if you would love to put in a wide receiver that that didn't get injured, but or maybe Bucky Irving, so in theory, you could add. I don't even think this was winnable. I mean, because yeah, I mean, you add 14 points, 101. I mean, it could have been close if we played our cards completely right, but yeah, I mean, this was just a tough week. I actually called it last week. I said that we had really tough matchups, which we did, but I didn't even realize how bad they were. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, good win for Friedman. Moves him to 3-1, along with myself. Anything else from this game?
Andy Friedman talk about how much of a genius he is.
Ugh, he's not a genius. I mean, first of all, he didn't even 114. It's frankly one of the lower winning scores, combining with you, just barely outpacing the other Hackettstown team in the winning scores. Every other winning score other than the Hackettstown contingent was in the 120s all the way up to the 140s. Even the loser in one of the games was in the 130s. So yes, yes, he won, but let's not kid ourselves. There was some help with my team being dog shit. I think were we the lowest score of the yeah, I mean like literally everybody scored in the hundreds except for my team this week. I mean that's what happens when your star receiver goes down with an ACL before he scores or whatever the injury may be before he scores any points. So, yes. Horrid week for me, just absolutely depressing. But on to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's the next game?
All right, let's go on to our rivalry game with the
Yours?
odds.
Sure. The 114, the other 114 contingent in Hakkasan, 114.24 for the Hagglers, to 105.08 against the Lightning Rod. So feel free to take it away since you're so excited to talk about the games now that you're no longer emo, and I am. So go ahead.
Well, the week started off with a Dak Prescott. He looked red hot in the first half and didn't do shite in the second half. So he ends up with 20.74. I mean, a decent number, just below his potential. Luckily, Joe Burrow didn't do much more. There were a lot of handoff rushing touchdowns. Diggs kept up with Justin Jefferson. I mean, again, I don't understand why nobody can cover Justin Jefferson. As once again, he puts up, 20 plus points. And every single week he does the same thing. Then we had the Atlanta Mooney versus London matchup. I didn't even realize that was set up that way. But Cousins obviously favors Drake London. Moss, and who we'll talk about later, actually surprisingly kept up with Jones. And Montgomery kept up with Robinson. Again, where do we get Montgomery from? We'll talk about all of that later as these new faces are here. Zach Ertz actually outdid Likely, who didn't do jack. So, I mean, that Ravens team, you don't want any of the tight ends. I think Andrews got 0 last week. Likely had 1 catch in the beginning of the game for 26 yards. That had to be a dagger for Lightning Rods because he must have been like, come on, man.
I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with, you have Derrick Henry running back there, and then on top of that, you end up having, Lamar. I mean,
No reason to throw.
Yeah, as Mike Leon would say, there's no need.
There's no need to throw. Robinson had a fantastic game. I mean, he was pissing me off. Zach Ertz didn't do jack shit. I thought he was going to have a revenge game, and the revenge was on me. Like, look at me, coach. I suck. I knew Garrett Wilson was going to have a horrid game. He actually had more points than I thought with 7. I mean, he was like at 1 for most of the game. That Broncos defense, man, they are for row.
Oh, yes.
Elliott, there's your favorite kicker with 2 points. And then, Pittsburgh defense with surprising only 1 point. I mean, that's because another ghost to haunt Dave Harback and Joe Flacco came in the game and scored a couple touchdowns. So we won't talk about that. We'll just brush over that and move on. But
I like to see him have success. The man is a champion in this league. He's
saying all the right things now.
Yeah.
After him in the trash can. Now he's all compliments.
There was no room. I mean, speaking of it, putting people in the trash can. I mean, like you put everybody in the trash. We can talk about this later, but you put everybody in the trash can except for Joe Flacco. They're like, well, that's the one. Oh my God. You're throwing everybody away. Fire sale at Gmart. And but no, God forbid you don't play Joe Flacco, champion extraordinaire Joe Flacco.
I don't get to pick him. The gods obviously favor Joe Flacco, and you've seen firsthand what happens.
I do.
So yeah, another satisfying win. Back-to-back weeks versus rivals, so that was very satisfying.
Yeah. Well. All right. I mean, any bench plungers we got in this game? No, it looks pretty. I mean, Jordan. Who's this? Love?
This is Vikings. Jordan. Well, Love and that they're both Jordans.
What? Did he play?
Who,
He played?
Love?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played. He threw 4 touchdown passes.
Wow. I was not paying attention. Look at that. He's
He would have
back.
had a buck 40 if he didn't throw 3 picks.
Interesting. So he's back. I did not know that. Addison with 22 points. All right. Otherwise, yeah, not much there. Left on the bench. All right.
All right, on to the next one.
On to the next one. So let's go to let's go to the clever name pending versus Zamunda in this game. So it was looking like, so my hot take of last week is that Nick will not win a single game this season. It was looking pretty bad for me there for a while, but pulled it out. Did clever name pending to get off the schneid as he wins 121.22 to 116.08. So Hurts, that team, so the Philadelphia looked just absolutely terrible, but he ended up managing 18.32 points. Kyler Murray against Washington. Was there, I mean, we were having this discussion off the air like yesterday, but is Call of Duty out? Like the Kyler Murray is just not able to play. I mean, because there was some stat like Kyler Murray on Call of Duty weekends or something when there's events. You know more about this than I
Yep,
do.
the event, yeah.
Yeah, if there's an event, he does really poorly. I mean, they in fact they had to put like some homework clause in his contract to make sure that he studied the playbook instead of playing Call of Duty. Anyway, must have been a Call of Duty weekend because he did not show up for duty on the field against Washington with 11.98 points. You had Ayuk with only 6.8, 23.6 for Lamb. Only one for Mitchell. My God, how what? So Derrick Henry with his 35.9 points clearly won this game for Clever Name Penny because wow, look at the difference. I mean, like the wide receiver. I mean, 7 points total, 7.8 points total for the receivers for Clever Name Pending, whereas Zamunda ended up putting up decent wide receiver numbers. I mean, Kyron Williams with 20 points. He continues to impress. Jonathan Taylor with 19.8, so outplaying Dobbins there with 9.2. Fryermuth with 16.7, only 6.4 for Schultz. McConkey comes back with 17.7 points, 13.10 for Dowdle, 5 for Tucker, 10 for Carlson, 0 for the Buffalo defense, and 9 for the Vegas defense. I'm actually like I'm looking at this. It's very surprising that he pulled this out by 5 points. I guess it was the Derrick Henry thing. I mean, like
The Derrick Henry show.
because I mean, there's a lot of abysmal numbers on this Clever Name Pending team.
Well, hopefully they stay abysmal for next week.
Because you just this as him being your opponent, but yeah, I mean, he would have outscored you this week, but nonetheless,
Thanks to Derrick Henry.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I feel bad for Nick. He actually put up a decent, well-rounded score. Just not enough there. Any bench blunders there usually are on Nicky Baby's team. Wandale over Jennings was Juwan Jennings. That's the one he should have played last week. This week he could play Wandale. He keeps picking up these players and playing them a week late. So he'll probably play Wandale this week, and then some other guy that he picks up off the bench just now is gonna light it up. But yeah, tough loss for him, but a good win for Clever Name Pending. I think the Clever Name Pending has actually been relatively close in a lot of his games this season. I mean, I forgot who we played last week, but I seem to recall that being relatively close and it was pulled out at the last minute. I could look this up. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so yeah, you need more than a second because trying to figure out this app. So week 3, he lost 129 to 118. Nick and Jamie, who had that game from, it was somebody who on Monday night had a really good game.
Yeah, it was Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels, exactly. He pulled it out from Daniels. So he looked like he was about to win the week before. So he's been getting rather consistent, around that 118, 120 mark. But then, yeah, I mean, this time he managed to hold on, whereas the previous week, yeah, Daniels was just apparently he's a god. Did really well. So all right. I got nothing else for this game, do you?
Nope.
Alrighty. Well then let's move on to this. So speaking of Nick and Jamie, I mean this game was an absolute. I mean, so all like largely, middle tier scores, but this one was just off the charts. 149.62 for Nick and Jamie over Tilla Trey team 131.18, blowing out their expectations, which were 119 to 114. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Tilla Trey, who now moves to 1-3. I mean, he's had some really good scores. He's just had some bad beats on some of this stuff. So Daniels again with 26.02 points. You have Josh Allen with only 7.3. That really hurt him there. Nico Collins, who has been amazing this year with 33.1, 27.10 from Reed. 16 for Pickens, 23.4 for Mike Evans, who finally had a good game this year. The running backs were okay, 10.4 for for White, 18.8 from Pollard, 19.8 for Gibbs, and Saquon with only 13.6. There wasn't, like I said, that the Eagles were not very good this week. I know this is because this is one of the few games I watched. Kelsey finally has a better game, 15.9, I guess, probably due to the Rice injury. And then Kincaid with only 9.7. Keenan Allen, I guess he did play with 4.9 points and then 11.2 for more. Moody going back to his ways of scoring. Wasn't he on Manny's team? Did he drop him? And interesting. 11. No, nobody could stay on a Hackettstown team for long. Just flush down the toilet. The sewer system in Hackettstown is just filled with flush down fantasy football players. And then, all right, so 22 points for the San Francisco defense and 6 for the Jets defense. No, Thomas Jr. here with 21.1. Brian Thomas Jr. All right, I guess would be a bench blunder, but I mean, it's not one that you would have thought would have happened. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, this is just I mean, first of all, the San Francisco defense really helped out Nick and Jamie in this game. And Josh Allen's performance, fantasy wise, well, just in general, I mean, they did not play well that game. Is basically what this game turned on, as far as I could see.
Well, he had 38 last week. Josh Allen did. I mean, he was a monster, and this week he just the Ravens just embarrassed him.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of a difference playing the Ravens versus the Dolphins, but yeah, I mean, just tough.
Has a big game too. Pollard ran roughshod all over them. I mean, Miami's just a sinking ship right now.
What, like, how is it possible? Like,
and it got taken out by the guy who died on the field.
Yeah.
Of all the people to be knocked out by.
It's just unbelievable to me how that one thing has just affected this team so massively. I mean, I wouldn't have said that, like, like Tua was fine. I never thought, like, oh my God. Yeah, but, like, I mean, it's just like the entire team seems to have fallen apart once that happened. And I just didn't think that he was that much of an impact player, but clearly he was.
I can't get my guys on the field to see how much they suck because my guys are injured in Miami. I don't even have the luxury of putting up no points.
Well, I mean, you have the luxury of putting up no points if you want. You can put in Mostert if you want, and you'll get no points. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, just tough as far as this particular game. Tough loss for Tillett. I mean, like he's better than his record shows. He was the Spider last year. He's the anti-Spider this year. I don't know what that would be. Venom. Who's the Green Goblin? I don't know, but
that hurts. Putting up a buck that he would have blown out any other team except for these guys.
I know.
At least he would have won.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to Gronky Kong versus. Well, he kept the same team name, South Florida Primetime, which, given the way that Miami is playing, he might be the primetime raw in that city at this point. So he moves to 4-0, one of two 4-0 teams left. As he wins 129.48 to 112.60. Gronky Kong with a 1-3 record. I find that quite surprising, but
what's
that?
Quite satisfying or quite surprising?
I have nothing against Gronky Kong. I have very little. I know that you have a rivalry.
He's a menace.
At
least as far as his free agent pickups go, he's constantly irritating me.
Wasn't there one last week where you said that he picked him up?
Yeah, the guy Kobe Myers.
Yeah, no, but what happened exactly?
Devontae Adams was ruled out, and he just picks up Myers out of nowhere. 10 seconds later, 30 seconds later, he's declared out. How convenient! He's just a menace. He's always been a menace. He's just a menace. Thank goodness he's a 1-3 menace.
All right. Well, he ends up 1-3 because, yes. So on the back of Mahomes only getting 15 points, Darnold continues to impress with 26.50 points. We have Williams with 16 points, 22 for Mumra, including a passing TD to Goff on the Detroit special there. McLaurin with 18.2. Is that his first game where he's really done anything so far?
No, he had 20 last
Oh
week.
yeah, well, all right. Look at that. See, should have bought low, I guess, earlier. Jamar Chase with 17.550 is hockey has decided to keep him because of his insurance policy. The battle of the running backs at the top, Cook versus Singletary, 5.8 to 4.8. So not much happening there. But then you do have Kenneth Walker going off for 33.60 points to Chuba Hubbard's 22.1. Didn't want to do that when he was on my team. Komet with 6.4 points to Kittle's 14.5, I guess. Kittle is picking up some steam, although now he's got a Q next to his name, but I guess I don't know what's going on in San Francisco. Najee Harris with 10.3 to Myers, 9.9. Butker and Fairbairn, rather pedestrian. Same thing with the 4-point defenses of Dallas and New Orleans. And I do not. Well, Brown with 23.2 points as far as a bench blunder. Chase Brown. All right. This is the one that you were talking about, right?
Yep, that's the guy.
That's the guy. All right. And Steele. What a steal at negative zero point 0.4 points. I don't think. So yeah. Oh. Anything?
No, just what a shame. What a shame for Donkey Kong.
I mean, so what do you think about hockey? It's just I mean, his team.
Hockey 4-0. He's a team that nobody's talking about.
I know it's weird. He's just kind of under the radar, but yeah, this is 4-0 at this point. I don't know. You ever hear? It's the weird thing. You're not hearing from him, and you're really not hearing from the one that you'd think that you would hear from, which we're going to get into his game in a second. I mean, like these are. How is it possible that these two 4-0 teams who can have a mouth on them are some of the quietest 4-0 teams that that we've had so far?
I mean, in other sports, they end up in hearings. But fantasy football, it's quiet. They're all business.
They're not usually all business, though. I mean, what's going on this year? I don't get it.
I don't know.
Well, they've been quiet, but his opponent, as we go to the fans' last game, he's not been as quiet. I feel bad for him. I really do.
This one was basically stolen from him in the last play.
So we are saying actually we always save the Eugene game for last, but this one has just got to be so devastating. So first of all, you talk about Gronky Kong as a rival. All right, that's small potato. This is a rivalry. These two are rivals. Like the center, like one of the biggest. I mean, maybe like you and LeVar. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's in history. This is a modern day rival.
This is this is the modern day rivalry between, in the center. And wow. So you have that, and then it comes down to so you have 3-0 going against 0-3. I mean, so much involved in this game. And yeah. So Dave Secret Crush ends up pulling it out by just the tiniest of margins. That's not even a full point. 124.34 to 123.52. And it was within the last 2 minutes, I think, or at least like maybe I didn't see the play because I was on the play.
Otherwise, they would have run the clock out.
What is?
Detroit got a safety late in the game. Otherwise, they would have run the clock out. That's the only reason Seattle got the ball back.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I mean,
the only thing they did was pass it to Metcalf, and then they went nowhere.
Yeah, I was on the plane, and I was just, I saw some of the messaging going back and forth, and I could still check the scores. I didn't have the live game feed, but yeah. So basically, I just saw that, it was like 2 minutes left, and it just because like for the longest time, it was like 14 minutes of that fourth quarter, like Metcalf was just not getting anything, and it just looked like it was frozen below, and then suddenly, with like right about the 2 minute mark. He I guess so what did he get? He got a catch?
Yeah, all he was one lousy catch and he got it.
And that's what he got. And yeah, so but yeah, so looking at the full picture of the game, so Lamar Jackson got 27.64 points, 16.62 for Purdy. Neighbors with 23.10 points to Olave's 16.7. As we mentioned, Metcalf with that 15.4, he was stuck at 13 point something right before that. So yeah, that made all the difference in Amari Cooper with only 7.5 points. Etienne with 7 to Mason's 24. So, I mean, he's still performing there in McCaffrey's absence. Kamara with 24.9, James Conner's 18.3, only 5 for Bowers and 13.2 from Godert.com, 8.2 from Tyreek Hill, the vaunted Tyreek Hill, and then 2 from Zay Flowers, which is kind of disappointing there. 11 from Aubrey and 14.2 from McPherson, 2 for Houston and 11 for the Cleveland defense. As far as bench blunders, I mean, like, so certainly what do you call it?
You
Deontay
can't.
Johnson. What?
Swift wasn't doing anything.
Who?
To that point, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah,
he was a loser. I would have benched him too. Fuck benching him. He wouldn't even be a haggler. He'd be in the free agent market right now.
So I mean, there's not. I mean, look, you could look at Ford. He hasn't been performing that well so far. Kirk. I mean, is this? Yeah, I mean, Kirk 15. I mean, so he's had 2 good games, I guess, the last 2 weeks. But smartly you benched Richardson, who ended up being replaced by Flacco. Yeah, Swift with 29.5. So. But yeah, so I mean, this game was obviously this game was certainly winnable by the Whalers. I mean, what do you got to be thinking if you're him? I mean, it's got to be devastating. First of all, to lose Eugene, I'm surprised that there hasn't been more trash talk out of him. He's. I think it's almost more maddening to have him just be like quiet and silent about it. I mean, he's got to be like, oh, did I win? Oh, what happened? Tell me about it on the podcast, boys. I'm not even paying attention to how good my team is. Right. That's got to be even more frustrating for Whalers. And I mean, and just to know that you were so close. I mean, because the difference between 1-3 and 0-4 is ginormous. It's
to get off the side against Eugene, that would have been very satisfying.
I know. I mean, and so for Eugene to pull this out, I mean, I know he's not saying anything, but you gotta think that he's
Eugene's probably like, call me when you get to 500, bro.
It's just got to be super satisfying for him. And
to his credit, though, Eugene has said nothing.
I mean, is there a trial going on? What's going on? Like, why? I don't understand.
I don't know. He said he's in 4 leagues. Maybe he's just too busy to notice he's undefeated. I don't even look at the records. I'm too busy.
It's almost more insulting to not have him.
Yep.
Like not even. Say something.
Yep.
Because if things, I mean, is he just not? Is he trying to not anger the gods or something? Like, I mean, because if he wins, he's going to be unbearable.
Oh, I know. I don't think Eugene's not trying to do something. Just not his style.
I don't know.
All right. Well, big second half to talk about trades and standings and everything.
Yeah. So we have, so definitely we have we have a lot to talk about in this second half. We will be going over the transactions that just took place. We can take a look at the standings again. Yes, there is a ton to talk about in terms of off the field haggler shenanigans and commissionership things and all of that, and it's kind of been forgotten at this point, I think, almost, but certainly a topic to talk about. So we will talk about it on the other side of this break. We'll be back in just a few moments. All right, welcome back to the show. As we have a ton of stuff to talk about on the free agent wire. This is usually one of the shorter segments of the show, but it's going to be one of the longer ones. We can get started first by going to the transactions that happened last night, and then we can go backwards, work our way backwards to discuss what happened over the past week. But starting last night, so there were three contested fab offers. Two of the three won by you with insane amounts of money spent on him. So first we have the Kareem Hunt sweepstakes, as he went for $93 of your fab money, beating out Hackettstown's finest, who bid 81, 75 for Dave Secret Crush, and 25 for Gronky Kong, and a lowly 11 for the Detroit Whalers. So and according to Friedman, he said that he bid 92, so you actually would have just beaten him out by $1.
Yeah, he lowered his bid. Most people do the opposite.
So okay, why $93 for Kareem Hunt?
Oh, you watch the latte shows, he's a pencil me in RB1.
So what exactly happened that made him a pencil me in RB1?
Well, Steele put himself in the doghouse. He was such a steal for Gronky Kong that he fumbled and he never saw the ball. He was pulled from the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of their backfield's in a shambles with Pacheco hurt. So in comes Kareem Hunt.
And what about P. Ryan? Was he was dropped, right?
I mean, he's a snoozer. He was dropped, and I mean, you look at P. Ryan, I don't even know where he is, but P. Ryan's numbers are atrocious.
So
he's one notch ahead of the other guy who fumbled. I forgot his name already. Steele. So that's it. Andy Reid has already had a history with Kareem Hunt. He looks the best out of all of the running backs that are in the stable. And with Rashee Rice going out, the Chiefs have to do something. They really don't have an answer. They have Xavier to stretch the field, but he's not really a polished deep threat. And I mean, what are you going to throw it to Juju Shyster-Smith? I mean, unless you want to go back to the old Chiefs and throw it to Kelsey 85 times, which they might do that. So his numbers could really go up. But other than that, the team is in a shambles. Hollywood Brown's injured for the year. Rice, but now his diagnosis looks good, so he could be back sooner than what you think. But right now, all of the Matthew Berry latte shows had this guy going, and we had no running back this week, so we kind of had no choice.
So you ended up with more than one. Well, all right. So the other one wasn't contested, so we'll talk about that in a second. But so let's go over the contested ones. So you picked up the Denver defense for $22, outbidding hockey for 5 and 1 for the finest. Why 22? I mean, obviously we've discussed at length.
Well, I've seen defenses go for 15. I was a little bit worried that the Jets would poke holes in the Denver defense. They did nothing to this defense. This defense is for row.
Sure, but okay, so they got 9, 6, and then 15 and 11. So the points the last 2 weeks have been there. I mean, I think that they are an amazing defense on the field. Do you think that they're going to be a good fantasy defense?
I'm just floored by the sacks over the last 2 weeks. 7 and 5.
Yeah, I mean that is a bit above average.
I mean 7 sacks, an INT, and a fumble. I mean you're already getting back your points with this defense every week.
Yeah, that's true.
The sack totals.
Mm-hmm.
That's astonishing.
Yeah.
And the Raiders suck. I mean, Minshew, you don't think Minshew's going to go down a bunch of times?
Oh, I'm not talking about this. So, I mean, but I would think if you're investing $22, I mean, who knows with you, you're ridiculous. But somebody who spends $22, I think if it would be defense that you're looking to not have to stream week to week, you're thinking about, all right, this is going to
don't get me wrong. Next week, week after that, they'll probably be in the garbage.
You think that you're going to put them in the garbage?
Hey, you know how the Hagglers roll.
The Hagglers are a ridiculous team, which in a second we'll talk about. All right, so then the other...
I was talking about dealing away Kareem Hunt, with too much to your dismay.
Yeah, you guys should hear he's a madman. He's an absolute lunatic madman all day. He's just talking. He's just trying to move big name players. He wants to. Should I move this guy who's a superstar for garbage? I don't know. Like I like it's he like it's like you're allergic to keeping players on your team.
Hey, one man's trash is another man's bench player.
So in the other one, Gronky Kong ends up getting Devontae Wicks outbidding the finest. The bid, the winning bid was $21. The finest bid $4. Um, so then if we switch over to all transactions, there's been plenty that have happened so far just in the last couple days, even during this podcast, frankly. So this starts off with me getting Kraft in the frowned upon hour.
Well, at least I will tell you this: you were doing it. I at least waited until the message came through that all transactions hit to silence certain constituencies
Why? Why bother?
who frown upon us staying up until the wee hours of the morning to start building our teams. That's always been frowned upon. I think ever since Lombardi, didn't Lombardi raise a stink
Yeah, I'm sure.
way back in the day about us already starting to, you know, acquire free agents the second that they were available?
Yeah, I'm sure he complained. He whined and complained until he didn't show up to the draft after screwing everybody over. I mean, like he was a menace and he's gone. So yeah, maybe. All right, so then the other one, so then okay, now moving up the ladder. So you picked up Justice Hill for $53 of a bid. That was an uncontested $53. So
Yeah, there you go. There's the Hagler's over the top spending.
right.
And then I talked moving them.
Well, I apparently spent a little bit too much on Xavier Leggett. I got him for $32. Over
I
no
don't
over
think
no.
this league really knows who he is.
Well,
I'm surprised Gronky Kong wasn't more savvy and go after him.
yeah, I mean, so I actually was going to pick him up. So the thing about him, I was going to pick him up on Sunday, but I was, debating whether or not to play. Who was the guy that you were talking about, the wide receiver on Arizona?
Michael Wilson.
Michael Wilson. So, but the problem was that the Carolina game was at noon, whereas the Arizona game was later in the afternoon. So I couldn't drop him because I was afraid Manny might pick him up because he had some problems with AJ Brown, and I didn't want him to fill the role with that. So I ended up not going to get him, even though I could have had him for free. And then he gets a really good game. So his game last week, he ended up scoring 19.6. I thought that would be enough to draw attention, given that the Red Rocket is throwing to him. Thielen's injured. There's reason enough to go get this guy. I was surprised, so I thought, I cost myself, having him for free. So I bid on him. I bid a decent amount, not obviously $93 worth, but I bid a decent amount, and turns out it was completely unnecessary because I can't read. One thing that I do not know is what the rest of this league is thinking. You have no idea. It is just really, yeah. You could have Justice Hill with nobody bidding for him, or you could have Kareem Hunt with 4 bids over 70. So you never know. Trey Sermon gets picked up. So Jonathan Taylor, I believe, was slightly injured,
banged up, so he might not play.
right? So he's picked up by Gronky Kong there for 25. What else do we have? Young Ho was picked up by the finest. Indianapolis defense was picked up by me, dropping. Oh yeah, and then P Ryan gets dropped by Manny. None of this, whatever. Josh Downs gets picked up. Mooney is dropped by the Hagglers. Then Mooney is picked up by the finest. All the stuff moving around. Cade Otton picked up. I was actually, I was gonna pick him up instead of Croft. Problem I had is that I am already Tampa Bay heavy. I can't. I mean, I already have Baker, Godwin, Buggy Irving, the kicker.
We already talked about that. So many spots are taken up.
Well, yeah. Well, we talked about this off the air. So I'm just saying it on the air is that so then I couldn't have, and then I couldn't add that. And then on top of that, you have a Thursday night game. So what am I? I'm already basically my entire team is basically playing Thursday. I mean, like I will almost be done by the 1 o'clock games, which is quite astounding. But um, yeah. So you have all that, and I just couldn't add on, and then I don't know if McBride is going to come back because ultimately, if McBride comes back, then I want to play him. But I need time for him to get cleared through the concussion protocol. And if I go with Otten on Thursday night, then whatever. But at least he's on the haggler, so he'll probably be dropped within 5 minutes. So it doesn't matter if I want to pick him up later. Then Goff
I'll
gets
probably
picked.
drop by the end of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Goff gets picked up by Gronky Kong in exchange for the Dallas defense. Minnesota, who I had dropped, gets picked up by Hockey. Um, I mean, that might be. Look, I think Minnesota's good. They're going on a bye though, and you never know with the London games. Although it tends to be pretty good for defenses, that's actually a decent pickup for Hockey as they're playing the Jets in London. Um, but I went with the Indianapolis defense because they have a good matchup this week. They have a good matchup next week, for the next 3 weeks. So, and they don't have the bye. So, then Taysom Hill gets picked up by Whalers. I think that's a good move, though. He's got some injured ribs the last I saw. So we'll see. Um, Bigsby. I mean, how many teams has this guy been on? The history.
I mean,
My
he is
God.
the lead core. Who was the lead core last year that literally, I think Roshan Johnson.
Maybe. I don't know. So this guy. So yeah. Waivers from the finest, then dropped, then picked up by Gronky. I mean, he's just gone back and forth. So he was with the finest, then Gronky Kong like multiple times, and then finally Nick and Jamie. So yeah, he's all over the place. Um, and then Kyle Pitts gets picked up again mid podcast. And yes, that's it for the transactions that happened there. However, that does not cover the transaction that happened last week, which was of quite a controversial note. What are you doing here? Why are you not what are you pooping? You were just pooping.
I'm here. I'm here.
Why is your camera not on?
Well, we're, taking care of business.
Again, you're again in the bathroom?
Well, we didn't want to pause it for the viewers. I'm dedicated to the show.
How many poops do you have to take? This is the second one. We took a long break in between the breaks. So you could go poop.
As many as it takes.
Okay. Such a professional outlet we have right here. All right. So going on to the controversial move from last week.
Was it really controversial? I mean, what?
Well, it certainly was. It caused an uproar in this league. All I know is that I get like a ton of messages last week, and I was literally sitting on a plane. I think I was transferring, and I was like, I don't have time to deal with this. I was in Charlotte. It was like storming. So we have
If you took a poll right now and asked every single player in this league if they would want Tyreek Hill on their team right now, nobody.
Exactly. I mean, look. I think it's ridiculous. There's multiple levels of ridiculousness. So first of all, it's been 12 years since a trade has been vetoed, since the infamous Forte trade, which, look, Friedman was not here for that, so he doesn't recall. I mean, you weren't even here for that. I mean, trust me, Whalers remembers it, and still continues to think that I ripped off Jamel, which it was we certainly,
Yeah, but didn't he offer to get ripped off?
offered it. That was the thing. I don't, at this point, it's been 10 years, so I don't remember every detail about it, but I know that I think I offered him a trade. He countered with a worse trade, which I obviously accepted, and then it got vetoed by Nick. And I thought it was outrageous because, I was being accused of doing something nefarious when he was the one who wanted the terrible trade. Anyway, so
I'm shocked that you dug up those old posts. That was pretty funny.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they're so old that they were on. We weren't even using Messenger at the time. It was on Facebook proper at the time. So, my God, like, and so I mean, like, there was basically an agreement, that the principle was that so we didn't outlaw vetoing completely because there are certain circumstances. For example, if you were to collude with another team to say, I don't want this guy to win, I'm gonna lend him to you. Almost, I mean, the Kimmel thing they were suggesting last year. Like, I'm gonna lend him to you, give him back to me, kind of thing. Or, like, or there's no, like, my season's pretty much done, but I hate that guy, which is plenty of that here.
Well, there was a situation similar to that caused the advent of the once you're eliminated, the playoff teams can't pick up anybody from your roster.
Yeah, I think that was a Lombardi thing again.
That was a Lombardi rule.
I know, exactly. I mean, the amount of rules that we had, how shady that guy was. Anyway, so yeah, there's but essentially the principle that's been established is that, there should not be a veto issued unless, how did I worded it pretty well, actually.
No, you said if the team that made the trade in their mind subjectively believes that it will help their team, then you have to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no reason to, well, first of all, I know that you did believe that this was going to help your team. And second of all, like, you needed first of all, it's absurd in that we're looking at it a week later and there would be nobody who would even question getting, I mean, Tyreek Hill, I mean, like, the team is garbage at this point. Miami is a joke. I don't think that there would be,
look, it's become meme level now. That whole team and Tyreek Hill is a laughing stock.
Exactly. But 1 week ago, that trade is getting vetoed. I mean,
and then everybody saw it on Monday night. I don't know if you saw it, that catch that Montgomery, where he steamrolled his way through a whole bunch of players for a 40-yard gain. There was no question.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's like one of those. It's, I mean, like, speaking of Lombardi, this is Lombardi podcast again. I mean, it's like, he used to talk about high-end RB1s versus whatever, low-end whatevers, and he would only match up, one with the other and whatever. I mean, that stuff, first of all, it's outdated. And second of all, I mean, like, if you can, there are pieces that can help your team. And at this point, look, Tyreek Hill is still a good player. He's a good man, as me and put that post. But I mean, he is on a terrible situation, and I don't blame anybody for wanting to get rid of him. So whether or not you think it's but that's not the, like, whether it's lopsided or you think it's a good trade or whatever, that is not the standard. The standard is whether or not, the person subjectively believes that this is going to help their team, and you have the freedom to choose your team as you want, as long as you're trying to improve your own team. If you're just trying to screw over somebody else, then in those situations, yes, then it is a different, scenario. This is not that. And, there was, we wanted to put it up to a vote, and no, because then we're going to be voting on every trade, and every trade is going to get rejected, by the way, because every trade that's ever made in this league, everybody thinks is unfair, and somebody's getting shafted, and it's ridiculous. So no, it's a pretty clear standard, and there's no reason that he should have done that. I think he acknowledges that, and I think that he's fine with it. So, if he'd stood up, I think that the gods might have smited him worse, but they did not. He understood, and he rectified the situation pretty quickly. So, but yeah, there's that. And then, I mean, what was the other trade? You made another trade. I mean, there's been a lot of Hagler. I don't understand.
Like I said, price to move.
I mean, you're almost becoming, Seymour level. So Laporta and Marvin Harrison from Friedman to you for in exchange for Zach Ertz and Zach Moss. I did not like this trade.
It was made up for in free agency.
Well, I didn't like this trade when it happened because you had left yourself with no running backs, but then I guess you went out and got yourself some running backs with some money spent in the draft. So whatever. I mean, look, it is a madhouse over there in Hackettstown, I think, with both of those teams. So let
me tell you, this is the official statement from the Hagglers camp. I don't give a fuck about any of my players. That has gone all the way back to the daily fantasy redraft. Remember, I threw everybody in the garbage every single week.
That was the year you won your championship. Except for that was the year that Flacco ended up winning
There
it.
is nobody that is not to be thrown in the garbage. Nobody's above being thrown in the garbage on the Hagglers at any point. I don't care if we paid $199 for you. You could be thrown in the garbage the next week. It's just like style. Many consider it insane.
It is insane. And then on top of that, and this is part of the other reason why, there's no consideration of the wake of what you're doing. Like, like it's just so hyper focused on like yourself that like you don't even realize. Like, let's say Tyreek Hill was actually good, like that he was performing. And look, maybe he does at the end of the season. Maybe this ends up panning out for Eugene. But there's no consideration of like if he was good, there would be no consideration of I'm helping the currently top team in the league. For maybe a lesser, which I don't think it is, but I'm saying even if that was the case, you would just be like, well, I don't care. I look solely at my team. I'm an insane man. It's just an insane way to run a team. But I acknowledge that it's an honest insanity.
It is. It is. There's no collusion. We're not trying to pull a fast one on the league. These players, this guy's out of here. If I'm dissatisfied in the least, this guy's out of here. Yeah. And there's been people that have quote unquote bet going back to Eugene, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
For Michael Pittman and Stephon Diggs, who at the time I thought were good players. Mm-hmm. And people are like, that's Le'Veon Bell, you fool. What happened to that? I ended up facing Eugene in the playoffs with Le'Veon Bell.
And you ended up beating
the way to the championship.
Right. No, it defies logic, but I mean,
look, the Hagglers are no strangers to controversial trades. The Mahomes, the thing that Nick can't live down, Mahomes for Joe Burrow, another controversial Hagglers moment.
Yeah. I mean, he was winning. He was literally winning the championship. You had been eliminated for 4 weeks at that point, right. I think. And he's still, as Kamara is running up the score in the championship game, Nick is still talking about how, that trade.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to trade, certainly you're graded on an insanity curve, which is true, and whatever. Like, look, but it is your right.
Dr. Hockey going on and on and on and on last season about the Keenan Allen and Herbert trade for Derrick Henry, which by the end of the year, I proved to you Derrick Henry was putting up numbers, and the other two were hurt.
Yeah.
Not a peep out of hockey at the end of that. But going on for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not the first time the Hagglers have been involved in a controversial trade that on the surface looks like it doesn't benefit them anyway. But as time goes on, you see what happens. That's what I said after the trade. I said, you have to give this one time. But Dr. Hockey is...
Actually, I think Dr. Hockey defended you on this, on the principle of it. I don't think that he agreed with the trade itself. I think, but he certainly agreed on the principle of it. Which is that we don't want our commissioners vetoing trades just because they don't think that they're good, especially when they're making these trades.
That's currently a thing, right? You have it set up so that no trade can be vetoed.
What's that?
Right? That's the way it's set up in this league right now. No matter what the trade is, it can't be vetoed. I mean, it can be voted on even. It's just, that's it.
I mean, absent evidence of collusion,
right?
That you're not trying to improve your own team, like those kinds of very specific circumstances.
And you can go right to the very first game. I won Monday night because of Montgomery.
Yeah.
He was the difference.
And by the way, Eugene almost lost because of
time. That was the rub.
Yeah. He didn't. He just pulled it out. But yeah. So I mean, but that's the reason. Look, one thing that we all know about this league is we are some of the most insane people in general. And then you get into the trades and whatever. It's going to be even crazier. But that's the point, is that you have to be. That's what makes this league annoying at times sometimes, but it also makes it a lot of fun, is that you're dealing with Arkham Asylum here.
ironically, one of the few things that Eugene did voice is that he got ripped off in the Montgomery deal. He
Well,
was
I mean that's Eugene being Eugene at the end. I don't think he actually believes it. I think that he's saying that he got you ripped off. You know, he got fleeced after. I mean that's that. I mean he's keeping a lid on like because I know he's got to be happy about everything. He's keeping a lid on all of it, but every once in a while the little Eugene comes out and it's just waiting to it's like the pressure cooker is just building up inside. He's got to let it out somehow, and that was one of the more charactery things of him this week. All right, I don't think there's anything else on that.
nope.
All right. Looking at the standings, so now we have two 4-0 teams, two 0-4 teams. So Dave's Secret Crush at the top of the league, followed by Prime Time. Although there's a giant gap, I mean, 105-point lead in the points for Eugene. So he's well ahead on all tiebreakers at this point. Then at the bottom, Zamunda also has a pretty steady lead in terms of the basement. 424 to 376. That's near, let's see, that's 25. So it's around 48-ish points. All right, and then you got the 3-1 teams, 1, 2, 3 of those. Nick and Jamie at the top of those. Where did Nick and Jamie come to I mean, wow, 496. I guess with the 1603ers getting a dud this week out of Rasheed Rice, falls to fourth, the finest. Right behind them, and then we get to the 2-2s, only two 2-2s, the Lightning Rods and the Hagglers. So
Out of a playoff spot.
Well,
One game out of a playoff spot. That's not bad for a quarter of the way through the season.
I know the Hagglers are usually well behind at this point. Then we have the 1-3s, three of those. Tillett Trey leading those. As I said, he's had a pretty good season. In fact, if you look at his number, I mean, like 477. I think that's
Third.
third. Oh, 496. Nick and Jamie, right? So third in points for, and yet he's which will of course bring up the next, the controversy. Oh, it should be points or whatever. I'm not having this argument. They could say it. I just don't care. And then, Clever Name Pending, Grocky Kong, and Detroit Whalers, and the Zamunda Lions. Rounding out the bottom. So yeah, that's it for that. Let's move on to this week's games. What do we got?
Well, we got we can start with the burner team versus Man.
Ooh, Manny playing his own burner team. Look at this. All right. So the projection in this one is a lowly 106.51 to 102.48. Do they have all their players in? Wow, they do. A 54% favorite in favor of the finest right now. So he's going with Justin Fields on Sunday night against Dallas, against Mahomes versus New Orleans on Monday night. So a lot of the quarterback play is going to be decided late in this week. Shaheed at Kansas City. And then McLaurin versus Cleveland, Higgins versus Baltimore, Sutton versus Vegas, the A Chain against Singletary, and Josh Jacobs against Kenneth Walker. I wonder if he could have that same kind of performance. So he's got both RBs from Gronky Kong has both RBs in that Giants game. Well, one for each team. Turd Ferguson at Pittsburgh on Sunday night. You got Komet versus Carolina. Wicks versus Moss, the newly acquired Moss, and then you got Koo versus Butker and the Chicago defense versus the Miami defense. I'm surprised Manny's favorite in this. I mean, A Chain, that's a 14.21 for A Chain. That's a pretty hard prediction.
Come on, he had 5.9 was last week's total.
Yeah.
Counting for no quarterback.
Yeah, no. Sutton has been okay, actually. He's been pretty good. So third, I mean, other than the first 2 weeks, other than the dead body. 13.8 and then 15 points. Shaheed has been off and on. So 16, 20, he had 0, and then 15. This could be a shootout. He could do well. I don't know. Somewhat inconsistent there. I mean, is McLaurin now coming, this could be a good game for McLaurin. I mean, if he's trending upwards, and you got Higgins, what has he done? He had
Higgins is
one good game against Carolina.
he's been injured.
I mean, Kenneth Walker, we saw what he did last week. My gosh, that was an
That's
amazing.
incredible.
I mean, like, is he going to continue? I mean, against the Giants. I mean, so he's vulnerable because he's playing both of these guys. Singletary is even playing, he misses practice with a groin. I don't know.
Ooh,
Ferguson definitely did
Justin.
better.
I mean, all he has is Sermon.
Um, correct. Who
And
totaled eight?
Sermon, wait, so Sermon goes early. So if he doesn't play Sermon and Singletary doesn't play, he's fooked.
Yeah, Sunday 125.
Nobody's.
Yeah, that could be a problem right there. Um, it's actually a close game. I mean, Fields, has that been consistent? That was just against Indianapolis. I think he's going to come back down to earth. Um, I mean, A Chain, that is a very high projection for A Chain. He's going to be nowhere near that. I mean,
Kind of a low projection for Turd Ferguson. He's been all right.
he's been all right, but is he going to make up for the A Chain?
I don't know. I have concerns about Singletary. He didn't do dick last week.
Well, what was it because he was injured? Is he going to even play this week?
If he doesn't, Gronky Kong is totally effed.
You know, maybe I think it's close. I think I'm going to go with Manny slightly because I think the two horrid running backs cancel each other out. But I don't feel that confident about this pick. But I just
I mean, Gronky Kong in free agency has sprinkled himself with players who supposedly had a good game last week. So I have to give the edge to Gronky Kong right now.
I don't fault you for that. I think that's fine. I just don't. I don't know. This is a tough one to call because look, Shahid, excuse me, could throw, or could get a donut. Who knows? So much up in the air.
I don't discredit New England's defense. They're pretty, it's as forward as their team is. Their defense is not terrible, and they're playing Miami, who has literally nothing going for them
Yeah, I
right now.
would not play any Dolphins. Who has Miami? I had a chance to get them. I should have gotten them. I don't know. Somebody picked them up. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I don't fault you for going for Gronky Kong on this one. I'm just slightly going to pick the finest, but I think it could go either way. All right.
I hate to root for Gronky Kong, but there's just too much going on.
It's not a rooting. It's an assessment. You are making a prediction. I do not root for any of these teams. Certainly not rooting for Manny. I would rather be wrong. I have no, it's just like you have no attachment to your players. I have no attachment to my predictions. All right. Where shall we go from here?
We can go to me and clever name pending.
All right. Wow. Well, look at these projection totals 82.81 to 64.15. I'm hoping that there's okay, he's got some buys because my gosh, you've got a buy there too. Or at least an empty spot at the kicker. So Hertz is on oh man. Does he have a backup quarterback?
Well, yeah, jerk.
Oh, he's got Kirk Cousins. Okay. So you better put him in you better like you got it's going in tonight. It's going down. It's going down tonight.
Yeah.
You all right, so you got Prescott going on Sunday. Harrison, your new Harrison and Diggs in a revenge game. He's got A. Mitchell. Oh my God. I mean, first of all, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, he has not cracked double digits. You got A. Mitchell. What is it? What is A. Mitchell? He's not even cracked 5, like 1.24.
How is he team? That's one of the things where the computer drafts him for you, and you manually drop him.
I mean, Henry has been fantastic. It won him the game last week. Taylor, dealing with the injury. So
If Taylor doesn't play, I mean, this is another situation where he could be
no,
a Donkey Kong situation.
I know. So oh my gosh, I mean, this could be an historically bad. So he's got to replace.
Dick Tracy and the bench. Torque him if you got him.
He's got Downey.
Who are these people? Look at Corkham's projection, 0.5.
Who?
Corkham on the bench. His
Corkum.
projected points is 0.5. That's tripping over a trunk, walking onto the field. Look, 1.25. He didn't even make the projection. He got 1.51. He just barely got it. Who are these people? How is he 1-3?
These are deep sleepers.
How did he win a game?
Because well, A, he played, didn't he play Nick? He played Nick, and then B, he had Henry,
I mean, when your guys are getting projected, Musgrave, I projected 3.83. Is he making those numbers? No.
I don't understand. Like, there are better players than this in free agency. I mean, like, is there some kind of, this is like
he could make room in his IR. He could put this Chubb guy in IR. He just leaves him there.
this reminds me. You remember your first season? I think it was where
horrid.
No, but but the reason why it was horrid was because you would listen to these shows and they would all talk about like the deep sleepers.
Abdullah was
exactly. And so, but who ended up being fine? He actually ended up being good eventually, but like not that season. But yeah, so you had like an entire team of like deep sleepers. But the problem is that they're terrible. Like those it's like you don't understand. Like when they're talking about the deep sleepers, that usually means that they're going to be pretty bad. I mean, like they might be good in a year or two, but you do not want a team of the deep sleepers because this is what you end up with.
This guy is in a cryo chamber as far as sleepers go.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. I mean, do I even need to look at the hackers? So you still have Mostert in there. Obviously, you're going to put in. Well, Montgomery is out, but obviously you're going to put in Justice Hill, I would imagine. I mean, you have Ingram sitting there. You may put. I mean, are you gonna wait on that? I mean, are you just gonna play Kate Otten? Because I mean, at this point,
no, Kate Otten. I just put him in there to boost my point totals. Obviously, the real players are going in there after this is over.
Right. Devontae Adams with a projected 0. That's interesting.
Yeah, how is that? What is it? At least declare. But what is that? Screw me over? No, he's still questionable. You could leave him in there, but you can't even move him to IR because he's Q. But we're just projecting 0.
We're projecting 0, but then he's projected to get 14s and whatever the rest of the way. That's interesting. So, Breer, Adams focused on engineering trade to the Jets. Teams involved in Devontae Adams' market have become convinced the Raiders' start is focused on engineering a trade to the Jets. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, this if you're dealing with a week of by the way, this you have Montgomery on a bye, you have Laporta on a bye. Basically, the players that you've picked up in the last week on a bye, they've been traded to you to go with the bye.
There was point where I had a pile of players who couldn't even play.
Yeah. I mean, but look, if you're going to play on a bye, a week where this is the week you want them to be on a bye when you're playing Cleveland and Pending when they have I mean, there is no question. So 71 to 29% underdog. That's going to quickly go up into the 90s once the first snap happens. This is one of the worst. I mean, my team that year that with the playoffs was bad. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. This is the lock of the year. If you lose this game, I don't even know what to say.
I cork him if you got him. Who are these players?
I don't know.
You could literally drop all of these players.
I mean, if he ends up pulling this game out,
who's gonna score?
I don't know. Maybe he's reading something like the A. Mitchell report.
Even if you took the players out who are on a bye, who are you gonna put them in? Cork him if you got him. Musker, these guys are terrible. Dick Tracy Jr. I would touch this with a 20-foot pole. These guys, he better do some quick dropping.
Well, you also better put in Cousins pretty quickly.
Your phone better blow up like a billboard. Clever name pending. Drop, because he doesn't have much time. This starts back place tomorrow.
Yeah. Frankly, it starts tonight if we're going by on air date. So yeah.
This puts a lot of pressure on the Haglers to win this game.
Yes, it does. If you do not win this game, this is going to look pretty bad on the Haglers. All right. I'm assuming you're predicting yourself in this game.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. We could go with the Lightning Rods versus his cousin, the 4-0 Dr. Hockey. So the projection of this one is 107.45 to 101.03 in favor of Dr. Hockey, South Florida prime time. So we got Darnold versus the Jets in London, going against Joe Burrow versus Baltimore. You got Justin Jefferson versus the Jets in that game. So you have primetime throwing to his own receiver. Then you got Chase. You got the other version of it with Burrow throwing to his receiver.
Quarterbacks. Look at this.
I know. So it's quite interesting right here. So you got so each quarterback will be throwing.
The whole top four cancel each other out.
Yes. So then you got London versus Worthy. So the top four cancel themselves out, and then you got London versus Worthy. Interesting. Where do you? Okay. Let's see. What has London done? He's actually done pretty well.
Yeah,
he's done pretty well. What has Worthy done? He did okay last week, but other than that, not too well. Although we'll see with Rice out, maybe that will be more of a sign to come. Aaron Jones, so he will also be in that London. There's a lot of London happening here, so Aaron Jones has been good.
That's risky, these London games.
Yeah, I know. And then you got Cook at Houston later in the day. Cook did really well when he was playing horrid teams. Then he played a good team, and then he did horrid, and he's playing another good running team. So you got some. So all right. What else do we have? Chuba Hubbard at Chicago. Hubbard had a great game last week, and he's definitely been increasing in productivity of late. Ever since, so basically I had him for the 1.4, and then he's been elsewhere for everything else. Makes me feel great. Feels so good. And then Robinson, he's got a Q by his name, projected to 12.13, but he's in double digits all the way. He has a knee injury that he's dealing with though. So I definitely think, we'll see if somebody comes in there. Likely, versus Kittle. So likely is, we already talked about that. Kittle, what's going on? May not play due to ribs. That could hurt if he doesn't play. If he does play, then great. He's got Wilson in the Jets game in London. Ouch. Wow. Okay. But they're playing Minnesota. I think that's actually a good play there. So that's another one so he'll take more points if he does well. Oh wait, no, he won't. Sorry, excuse me. Because that would be on the Jets side. And then you got Najee Harris versus Dallas. Okay. Fairbairn, and then you have the kicker out. So actually, this projection will go higher when he gets another kicker. Defense is our Pittsburgh, and then he picked up Minnesota to add to, as we discussed earlier, more London points. So obviously, what do we have here? Is there any tight end replacements? I see.
If Hockey wants,
Conklin, if you want to add another Jet into this game, and then you gotta get a kicker. Very interesting. This is a very interesting matchup, actually.
Look at the projection for this Saints tight end for Hockey, 0.28. How do you get even a 0.2? He had a projection last week of 0.27. He didn't even make it.
For who?
Eric Salbert. Sauerkraut. For Dr. Hockey and his bunch. What are these projections?
I don't know.
Look at this loser's projections all the way.
Yeah, but so you figure, at least that's smart because he's taking the backup tight end in San Francisco, so he doesn't have to. So he'll find out whether or not Kittle is declared out, and then he could at least plug him in if
Plug
I don't think he's
for
gets the numbers, but
zero.
what?
Plug him in for zero.
I mean, it's possible. Look, I agree that he's not going to have the same kind of numbers that Kittle would have, but at least he's not like trying to like. At least he doesn't have like a replacement that's playing at 8 a.m. or like you with Kate Otten at like Thursday, and then you're waiting to find out like, oh well, it's like there's no point in having that. You just got to play him or just drop him. Like there's no point. So yeah, you wait on Kittle, and then if he can't go, then you just plug in the backup. He's not going to get the same numbers, but at least you'll have somebody in the position. Um, ah, man, this is a tough one to pick, just because of. And you got Thursday night games. This is very much like mine too. So you got it's very London heavy, um, and it's you know
I'll take 4-0 Dr. Hockey.
you're gonna take him to go 5.
Five. Yep.
I think a lot actually depends on that Kittle play. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I'll pick Hockey in this. I think he's gonna. I mean, when he puts a kicker in there, I don't know. We'll see. I think he's less reliant on the numbers there. I think Hubbard actually playing really well and Cook. What's going on there? The Cook thing makes me scared. I mean, I really think it comes down to Kittle whether or not he plays or not. You know what? I'm gonna pick the lightning rods. I'm gonna go the other way. Lightning rods for me.
Oh yeah, against the rival. I can't do that.
Once again, you're not rooting, you're just picking.
I can't even pick the lightning rounds.
There you go. All right. So where we could just move on down the line. Nick and Jamie versus the Whalers. Any rematch of the first ever championship game. 101.16 to 102.02. The Whalers is a slight 51% to 49% favorite. Got Purdy versus Arizona going against Daniels versus Cleveland. I almost think that projection for Daniels is low with 21.61. Then you have Reed and Cooper and Olave versus Brian Thomas, the wide receivers. Cooper is not. I mean, he's got a good matchup this week, but I don't know. We'll see there. Olave against New Orleans on Monday night. What's Thomas done? So he's been hit and miss. Reed. Pretty good. I mean, these are good. These are some good teams. All right. So Mason and Connor, and then Williams and Bigsby. Which is this the other Bigsby? Yeah, no. Okay. I actually think Whalers might actually could be favored in this game. Williams? I mean, Mason and Connor. And this is with, by the way, with GoDirt.com out.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he have a tight end to back up? He's got Taysom Hills waiting to hear on that one. Kelsey. Now, I do think Kelsey will play better. It'll be interesting if they play each other in that game. And he's got the problem. So he's got Taysom Hill. He's got a, if you wait on the late declaration, then you're in, trouble, especially with Taysom Hill. So
yeah. I'm surprised he didn't pick up Juwan Jennings to go with that. Oh, he's probably on his team. He's probably on somebody's team.
Isn't he on Nick's team?
No, that's Jennings on San Francisco. The Saints tight end. Jennings.
Yeah, well, all right, whatever.
Well, he's got Hawkinson set to return. I don't know when do these R's turn into he's actually playing?
I don't think he's so designate Hawkinson for return to practice. Returning
to practice, shouldn't he be at least a Q?
No, it's a 21-day practice window will open. He's not. No, he's still over there. Anyway, wow. I mean, look at this. There's a bunch of buys sitting right there. Barkley, Gibbs. All right, so a bunch of buys there. Allen versus Flowers. I mean, so Flowers didn't do well last week, but or the last 2 weeks, to be honest with you. And then you got Keenan Allen, who also did not do too well. All right.
He's done nothing this season.
I know. Cleveland defense has been pretty disappointing, actually, considering how, I mean, all right. I don't know. I think I'm going to pick the Whalers.
I'm definitely going Whalers on this one.
Really interesting. All right. Wow. Look at that. Um, yeah, I think I think this is finally we gets off the schneid. All right, let's move on to the Tilla Trey team versus the Lions. I can tell you right now, I'm picking Tilla Trey in this one. The projection is 113.86 to 90.49, a 71% to 29% favor for Tilla Trey. Why is that? So we got Allen versus Kyler Murray. I think Allen will have a good game against Houston. Lamb and Jennings versus Nico and Mike Evans. Well, so we're going to see some things early with Mike Evans there, and then Rashad White. He's also pretty Tampa Bay heavy. How many teams? You could just go like a full Tampa Bay. Like they're all, there's a couple teams that are just very Tampa heavy. Kyron Williams, and then Dobbins has a bye, so he's got to replace the running back there. So who are we looking at? Does he have anybody? Gus the Bus is on a bye, so Nicky Baby has to pick somebody up. So he doesn't even have anybody there. Although I guess, well, he could put in Dawdle, move him up, and then put somebody down. So he's still okay. Yeah, this is just there's nothing good here. Mixon and Kincaid and I mean, obviously, look. What are you gonna say? Tillage should win this one.
Oh yeah.
I think there's more locks of the week than there are, non-locks.
You're talking about locks of a lifetime.
Yeah, I know. It's the Loch Ness monster of a week. There's plenty of locks going around. Locks and smear is basically what this whole thing is. Some teams are gonna get smeared.
More of a fight than bow tie.
Yeah, some teams are gonna get smeared. Some teams are locks. All right. Yeah. Obviously, I'm going with Tillett here.
So Nick put up more of a fight than bow tie.
Will Nick put up more of a fight than bow tie? No. Bow tie. I mean, that's. Now, will Nick put up more? No, Nick will put. Yes, Nick will put up more of a fight than bow tie. I mean, come on, bow tie has grocery store baggers on his team. I don't even know who are those people. There are no people. Where are the people? No. All right. I don't even need to look at this putrid mess. All right. Where is there anybody? Have we gone through everything else?
Yep.
All right. Well, that leaves us to the fans game versus me. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not writing a 500-page essay, so I'm just going to pick him to start with. But let's look into this game. He's already a 119.38 to 103.13 favorite, 64% to 36% favorite. He's got Lamar going against Baker Mayfield. So first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, this game is going to be, at least on my side, it's going to be decided quite early. We got Baker, Godwin, Bijan,
everybody. You literally have
everybody.
You have everybody.
Yeah, McLaughlin all going on Thursday. And then we have the London game with Breece Hall. So basically, I don't think there's anybody. Is there anybody past the early game? I mean, I guess Kraft, if he plays, would be the only one that would play at like 4 for the 4 p.m. game for the East Coast. Right? Yeah, 125, which is 425 for you guys. And he might not even, I mean, depending on what McBride's stat. All right, so he would play at 4 p.m. So that would be it. The tight end is the only position that's going to be decided for. Everybody else will have gone. Most of them even before the 1 o'clock games, because you have the London action there as well. So for Eugene, he's got DK Metcalf against the Giants. I don't know if Neighbors is going to play. I'm going to be honest with you right there. I've heard some bad reports about him. Etienne has he's nursing an injury as well. I'm not sure. So shoulder was limited in practice. Um, so we'll see. I mean, if he's hit by the injury bug, that might give us our only chance. Bauer's going against Denver. I think we've already talked about how good Denver is. I would worry about that matchup. Um, Tyreek Hill, yeah, that doesn't. Um, but let's see, who can he replace? So he can obviously, if Etienne doesn't play, he could put in Ramondre, and then if Neighbors doesn't go, that could cause a problem. He's got
He's
Deontay.
got
What?
he's got Jalen, but I know you don't want to play Dolphins, so yeah, it's really not a lot of options.
I mean, he's got Waddle, but yeah, he could be in a little bit of trouble if Neighbors doesn't go, because Neighbors has been one of his stars. I mean, he was touting him from in the preseason, how much he loved him, and yeah, so I don't know. Obviously, you look at this on paper, he should win. We're in a lot of trouble already. We're putting in, so yeah, we're going with Godwin, then we're rolling with Judy against Washington. So there's a good matchup there. Brees Hall. I mean, Robinson's going to play. He had a Q designation, but I guess they took that away. I still don't know if he gets all the touches, by the way. This might be more of an Algier game. I don't know. Going with our $31 man, Leggett. 31. Is that what I paid or more? I don't know, whatever. Um, yeah, I'm gonna pick Eugene. We would have to have things really break our way, but otherwise I think it's pretty clear he's favored in this game.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna go you. I mean, you got literally everybody going.
I mean,
That's
we'll know by tonight, essentially. Like, I mean, normally you're like, oh, like Thursday games don't decide it. Well, Thursday is going to decide it this time because that's where everybody's going. There's nobody left.
hmm Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Eugene on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems pretty obvious. All right. So what are you going with for your lock of the week?
I have to go me over bow tie.
Okay.
Lock of this.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go. I think we're in agreement there. Where are you going for your upset of the week?
Ooh, well, on paper, Nick and Jamie over Whalers.
Even though you're picking Whalers to win?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I guess I'm going with Lightning Rods over Dr. Hockey as my upset of the week. Do you have a hot take? So far, my hot take is held of Zamunda not winning any games. It came close, but we'll see if that.
Hot take.
I mean, my hot take is that you are not even close to your transactions being done. How many transactions have hecklers? Oh my God. Let's see.
I mean, I don't know what the record is for transactions in the season, but we're on pace.
Yeah, so let's see. You're already up to 37, and what are we?
So that's 40 transactions.
I think there's. I'm gonna go plus. I'm gonna say that you go. What's that?
Transactions a game.
What's that? You cut out. Sorry.
We're averaging 10 transactions a game.
Right. So what? So what is you're averaging 10 transactions a game? There's 14. There's 14.
140 transactions before
140.
that'll batter the record.
I'm gonna go with a lower hot take and just say that the Hagglers have by the end of this season at least 100 transactions.
That would just shatter the record. I don't even know what the place is. And that's with Gronky Kong picking up and dropping the same player over and over and over again.
Yeah, which by the way, he's at 32, so he's nipping at your heels.
What's Gronky Kong's transaction? Let's see. He has
32.
Oh my God, he is in the conversation.
Yeah, he's got five. He's got five. But I'm saying I think that you're gonna I think you're
picking up and dropping the same person.
Sure. I still think you're gonna blow him out of the water. 100. I'm going minimum 100 transactions for my hot take. Do you have a hot take for the week?
No.
All right. Well, I guess that will do it for the broadcast. Yeah. So this one, at least for me, will be decided pretty early. I don't even know. Like, do I even have to? Normally, I sit on Sundays and watch the games with you. I didn't last week. I'll try to do this week, but it's a London game, so I mean, what was that 6 in the morning? I don't have anything to do. Whatever. Well, all right. So, I guess that does it. So
I don't know why my face is frozen there, but I guess that does it.
what else did you say? I mean, you're already freezing, so
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. All right, we'll move on. Thanks for joining us. Good luck this week, and until next week, see you then.
All right, peace out.